performance. The Residenztheater has the second largest acting ensemble in Germany, and when we first started speaking about new play development, one of the things we talked about was sort of the kinds of roles and opportunities provided by new American works for your ensemble. And I was curious if you could talk to us a little bit about the work of actors in the rehearsal room. Simply, how do they contribute to this process? In what ways are they creatively involved in the conceptual work that you're doing, or are they not? Are they simply, I can't mention simply, but are they, sort of taking what they're being told and rendering it?
No, definitely not. Not in any case. Sometimes you have very, very formal ways of formal ways of approach. So then it sort of looks sometimes like that, but the influence is extremely high and extremely important, and that is because they are with us. That means they have all the right to intervene in any sorts of ways. We feel a great responsibility for them, and they feel a great responsibility for the artistic process, and they're not. How can I say? They're not being fired. They're not here for one production. So they're part of this theater, and they are part of not everything that happens there, but I find it in sometimes when you have directors coming from other systems, like from Italy, let's say Italy. Actors are so much more dependent on the directors. Spain is the same. So we have people coming in from their directors, and they were saying, "What are these people? What do they want from me? What questions do they have? What do they want to discuss all the time?" And I'm not used to that. I'm used to sort of bringing in my vision to people who are grateful for working with me. And yeah, I know I'm exaggerating, but
it's not just Italian directors who would make that assumption.
And it's no, we have a very high standard of I think of collaboration. And the interest to come back to Milo Rau and about authors and actors in this particular case is now these aren't your experiences and not your personal memories, but Johann Leysen and the actors of our ensembles, they had to, you have to repeat your memories, your personal memories in this kind of way for 30, 40 times in all different contexts, on tour, at home, in rehearsals all the time. So it is your memory, then it gets transformed into a text and into a production, and then you sort of repeat it. You just repeat it. So after a while, one of our actresses said in an interview shortly before the premiere, she said, "It's not my text anymore, it's Milo Rau's." And the way that he tends to direct these texts then is, how can I say, a lot less personal than you did it now. So it is a very interesting play on distances. Like you have to sort of, it is out. Johann Leysen in this performance told for the very, very first time the story of his two lost babies. He never talked to anybody about that before. and it was part of the show, and so he sort of had to. It's not a character, obviously, because it's him, but it's a text that has to become strange to him, or distant to him, and I think that's a very interesting thing, which is part of, or is an issue in these texts, and is a major issue of the production and the production situation, or the acting situation, and I think in that kind of way it has some important questions about acting and writing and directing.
I have a question. I mean, I thought that was wonderful. It was a wonderful piece of writing. Amy, was that piece you translated?
No, that is translated by Milo Paul's company.
So that has been translated in English?
Yes.
See, I think this is an interesting case, and this could be an entirely complicated situation, because what fascinates me, and it was part of our conversation in Munich, is this, of course, is a play I do not know as the artistic director of a major theater in the United States. And only hearing that excerpt, which I thought was wonderful, was both a piece that, you know, I mean, it's complex what you're describing, but clearly the actors had an identification as actors to that piece, and seems like a very worthy piece for inclusion in an American repertoire. But for some reason, now, partly the Goodman Theater, it's a decision on our part as an institution that most of the new work that we develop is American work. Unlike a lot of theaters in the city which will do second productions, say, of British productions, of English productions, the Goodman tends to do new productions by American authors. But it is an interesting situation that even in Munich, the fact that I saw a new production of a wonderful American play called The Nether, as well in repertory was Tracy Letz's August Osage County. There were, I'm trying to think of other new, what's that? Disgraced, yes, a play by Ad Akhtar, which we did the Chicago premiere of. What's interesting, of course, is how little opportunity I ever have, if ever, to see new German playwriting in the United States. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, which I don't want to open up that particular door. Or we could. But that it is an interesting situation that sometimes has to do with translation, what plays get translated, what plays do not get translated. Wouldn't you say, Amy? I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah, I was just going to add that it seems like in days like these, where politicians are unwilling to, lead in diplomacy, that it's become the responsibility of the cultural scene to do this, and those kinds of exchanges are very, very
well. I think it's
partly,
and credit the Goethe-Institut has been very responsible for helping.
Absolutely.
Well, seriously, with translations, with collaborations, with travel. To sort of, I mean, it's been an extraordinary institution, obviously, that has been able to do that. But it is an interesting fact, I would say, that that I think that while there is a lot of complexity, German theater goers and German theater producers will include in their repertoire is larger, but contemporary American plays on subjects that are American but yet also can open up, I think, we just haven't done that as much, which is to our, if not shame, it's just simply how America. Well, actually, yes, say shame. All right, now I will go to shame. That what does not happen, within these particular borders is really not considered. So it's sort of a problem.
How are these new American plays actually coming to you, Sebastian? I mean, if this is your first trip to Chicago, it's not that you saw them here and then decided to bring them.
No, there's a market. There are editors in Germany that buy and translate these texts and offer them to the theater.
So it's happening through the publishers and not through the theaters.
Mostly,
that they're circulating.
Mostly, yeah. And they, I think this sort of playwriting and the amount of this kind of storytelling that you put so much energy in is not very elaborate in Germany. We do most of the time we do completely different, our authors are are interested in different approaches, and that's why this is such such an important. That's why it plays such an important role to us that you have sort of a storytelling, character-based sort of dramaturgy. Hardly ever would a German playwright really concentrate on that. It might be he might play on the notion of it. He might sort of try to sort of, but he'll always ask, how do I get out of the realistic setting? How do I get out of the realistic way of looking, the classical realistic way of looking at people? And how can I introduce the idea of actors being involved in playing a character like that? There are some of these plays are translated, and they can have successful premieres in London, and it's not that they're not transferable at all, but they will always, even if they have whiskey glasses and couches,
yes.
They will nevertheless try to sort of do something else.
Yes.
Tell the story backwards, or start with the end. And as George Tabori said, a good story has a beginning, a middle, and the end, but not necessarily in this sequence. So that's I think that's a difference, we just don't have production of this kind of, and we're happy that the Americans work that way,
yeah.
and they're so much better at it than we are, and that's why it's really seriously very, very interesting to come here and see how it is done, because we wonder, we don't know how you come to such precise, well done, well made plays. And I learned that it is a long process, that there is very much time, resources, care involved in that. Many people, readings, workshop stagings, all kind of things. I talked to directors that are for 3 years in a process with a playwright, working on the same product, and this is really very strange to us. I don't have an extra budget for these kind of things. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to in our literary department. The budget is actually, a large part of the budget may go to commissioning the writer. Yeah. That you give the writer an amount of money after a discussion in order for them to turn in a play in 1 year. But a great deal of the budget goes towards workshopping and reading and giving the playwright a sense of time with which to work, think, develop, and put the work in front of audiences, which is just very different.
And what's most intriguing is involving actors.
Yes.
In the process, to sort of let actors read a play out loud long before it is finished. That's complete. We don't do that usually, and to hear what they have to say about how does it feel?
Well, it's a little bit what you said in terms of, the collaboration of a German company, particularly a company, that when they're working on a play, let's say in this case, it's Faust, a new production of Faust, that they're going to give a great deal of impact, they're going to have a great deal of ideas, they're going to want to test let's say, the theory of the piece or that. That is exactly what happens very much in a new play, where the playwright will sometimes involve, not always, but will involve a conversation with the actors of, is this truthful? Does this feel right? And actors in the development of a lot of new plays that the three of you have been involved in an actor will say to a playwright, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. I don't have the word we might use, a transition. I don't know how to get from this emotion to the next emotion. It does not exist in the text. I cannot act it. And it's not up to a director to say, no, act it. Solve it yourself. Well, there are directors who will say that. Quite a few directors will say that. But a good director and a good playwright will want to work with the actors to help them solve a problem that, in some cases, a dramaturg and a director have identified in the text.
But that's actually a great way to segue to our next text, which is a text that answers none of these kinds of questions. Sebastian alluded. Yeah. This is. How many people here have heard of the dramatist Elfriede Jelinek? Okay, beautiful, good. Then,
well, Nobel Prize winning.
Yes, indeed, indeed. But I mean, her work has not been performed here much. Like Bambiland, I think, is the only play that's been performed. Elfriede Jelinek is a Nobel Prize winning dramatist and author of other kinds of text, essays, novels. And this is her most recent play. It came out last year, 2016, for those of you who remember. And it has been nominated for the Mülheimer Dramatikerpreis, along with Milo Rau's final part of the trilogy, of which we were just hearing. And this play is called Wut, which means rage. And it's a response to the current political landscape of Europe. It's a response to specifically the events in Paris surrounding Charlie Hebdo. And it's a response to Austria's response, so it's important to keep this in mind. Jelinek is an Austrian author, not a German one, and her response to Austria's, let's say, rather closed-door policy regarding the refugee situation. And this is a text for anyone who knows how Jelinek's texts look. You have 120 pages of text with no role allocation. You just have text. And the job of the creative team is to sit with the text and figure out what it means, and how to I think most how to activate the different voices that are coming up in these texts. They're kind of stream of consciousness-like, and they do have concrete voices, but it's like a thought that moves through an entire society, and we follow that thought, which connects all of a sudden the right wing in Austria with Islamist terrorists in Syria, and then back to a left liberal Austrian. And I have to say, these actors had an hour and a half to learn 2 pages of Jelinek, which is torture and really quite astounding. So did you have anything else to add to this particular?
Maybe after the reading.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing, which is that this particular passage is really dealing with, again, European identity, but it's responding to a quote by Gorbachev from the late 80s, Unser Haus Europa, our house Europe, and this idea at the end of, at the sort of end of the Cold War, and this idea of an inclusive, even Russia, Russian including Europe, that now seems to really be on the rocks.
This tumult of the crowd